What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. Hope you're happy, safe, healthy. I want to wish you a very happy Victory Polo Monday. That's right. The Dallas Cowboys took care of those frauds, the Washington Commanders, on Sunday afternoon, 44-22, a double up of a division rival. It was sweet. It remains sweet. It's going to be sweet all week long. Watching Monday Night Football is going to be awesome. It's just when your team wins and when they win the way the Cowboys won, everything is amazing. You want to watch every show, which is why you should like this video and subscribe to the Blog and the Boys YouTube channel and follow me on social media for all sorts of Dallas Cowboys things. I'm on X, Instagram, and Threads at RJ Ochoa, TikTok, RJ.Ochoa. Go like my Facebook page, all sorts of stuff happening all the time relating to the Dallas Cowboys. But you want to consume everything, watch every show, listen to every podcast. You want to hear every opinion. You want to hear everybody gassing up and hyping up your team. We're going to do that here because it makes sense and it's fair and it's reasonable and it's rational and required based on how the Cowboys played. But man, the opposite just sucks so much. Like after the Cowboys lost to the Panthers, you don't want to listen to a single podcast. You don't want to hear anybody even mention the word Cowboy to you. But in this particular moment, it's just the most beautiful sound ever. So it is Monday, Victory Polo Monday, as noted, October 20th, 2025. I don't say this in a self-serving sort of way, but a lot of you have reached out. Today's my birthday. Thank you very much. I really appreciate all the kind words. Extraordinarily blessed. I have a loving wife, a loving son. I have two wonderful dogs I talked about in the post-game show. God has blessed me immeasurably, and I can't believe the life that I get to live, and I'm thankful for each and every single one of you. So thank you for the birthday wishes. I really, really, really do appreciate it. It's obviously a better day because we get to bask in the win that the Cowboys had and kind of relive it in the discussion that we're about to have. So let's get started. First things first, we need to have a Dak Prescott conversation. Now, if you want to say he's the MVP, if you want to say he's not the MVP, I really don't care. But what you're looking at right here is, let me rephrase this. This list right here is the first 7 games of every season that Dak Prescott has ever played for the Dallas Cowboys or in the NFL in general. The only exception is there's no listing for 2020 because he unfortunately did not make it to 7 games on that season. And as you can see, the highlighted year is the 2025 campaign, our current season. And there is no denying it from a 30,000-foot perspective, from a totality perspective. It is the best, most complete, most efficient, most clean season through the first 7 games of each season that Dak Prescott has ever put forth throughout his NFL career. He has a just absurd amount of yards, the 3rd highest amount of yards he's ever had. Again, we're talking about through the first 7 games of each respective season. The 2nd most touchdowns he's ever had. He's tied for the fewest amount of sacks taken. He has the 2nd fewest interceptions thrown, and he's done all of this while having the best completion percentage to date, again, through the first 7 games of each respective season. We are witnessing somebody who has played this position for this team, quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, at a very, very, very high level in the past, and he is operating at the absolute peak of his powers right now. Again, look at this from Dak. He's almost at 1,900 yards. He has a almost 72% completion percentage. If we were a 1/10 of a percentage point up, we could round it that high. He's got 16 touchdowns against 3 interceptions, and we could quibble some of those interceptions if we really, really, really wanted to. We're not going to right now. He's only taken 8 sacks. I mean, we can obviously lament the fact that his team is only 3-3-1, but there is zero doubt about it. Right now is the absolute 100% unequivocal best version of Dak Prescott that the Dallas Cowboys have ever seen. And it's been a decade. And again, there's a lot of good football in the past, but this year, 2025, is number one, basically in a, once again, totality sort of sense. And look, I don't say that to say, oh, watch out, we should take some sort of victory lap or MVP is coming or, anything. I'm not declaring or decreeing anything because today is only October 20th. There's over half of the season still to go. We're not at the midway point yet. We're close. But in saying all of that, we can say, well, we've seen almost half of a season and we've seen the best version that we have ever seen from Dak Prescott. It stands to reason that player, that version that we're seeing of him is going to continue as the season moves along. And if it does, as we've continued to say for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks now, anything is possible, right? Like if Dak Prescott plays at this level on a consistent basis, anything is possible. And on the subject of consistency, this is crazy. I mean, I really find this to be just absurd. Now, Sunday, in case you did not know, was Dak Prescott's 22nd career game, throwing for at least 3 touchdown passes with no interceptions specifically. Again, Sunday was Dak Prescott's 22nd time as a professional throwing at least 3 touchdown passes with no interceptions. He's obviously thrown for 3 or more touchdown passes, but had an interception, if that isn't obvious. This is tied for the most games of such kind in Dallas Cowboys franchise history. He's tied with Tony Romo. They each have done it 22 times to date. Obviously, Dak Prescott has the chance and overwhelming likelihood of doing it at least another time in the future, which would mean he would have the most games of such kind in franchise history. But what is particularly amazing about Dak Prescott's games or note or spot on this list is he has done it 22 times, but he has also done it 4 times in a row. the last 4 games for Dak Prescott, not 4 games this season in general, like picking, week 1 and week 3, whatever. No. Literally the most recent 4 games, each and every one of them, Dak Prescott has thrown at least a hat trick's worth of touchdowns and not had an interception. This man is in nirvana right now. This man is seeing the field in a way that, quite frankly, no other quarterback in the NFL is seeing the field right now. He's seeing the field in a way that he himself has at different points throughout his career. And you can certainly look at what he did in 2023. You can see some of the games from that season there, but to do it 4 times in a row is a work of art. And the fact that the most recent one against Washington came against a defensive coordinator and a defensive play caller, several defensive, obviously, play callers or defensive minds, I should say, that know him very well from their time being on the same team, practicing against one another, is just unbelievably impressive. And again, deserves all sorts of rounds of applause because Dak Prescott is playing that well. When we think about this team, we think about what they've done, and we think about kind of how this success is happening. Dak Prescott is such an obvious story, and it goes without saying that what he's doing is very special, but he's got, beyond the fact that he's playing in this level of just extreme control right now, it's difficult and frustrating that it's difficult. It's difficult to not have a Dak Prescott conversation relative to what he's doing right now and not mention Tony Romo. And the reason that's frustrating is because for so long, for almost a decade now, we have been trying to separate the two, but their careers are so closely mirroring one another that you kind of have to reference them. There's poetry here. There's a Shakespearean quality to who Dak Prescott is, and the fact that it has immediately followed Tony Romo, that he took Tony Romo's job, right? Like, you get the theatrics and the narrative and the kind of pageantry of it all. But that being said, when we look at what Dak Prescott is doing, unlike Tony Romo, or outside of the 2014 season for Tony Romo, he's doing it at a time in which the variables around him, at least offensively, are aligned, right? Like Tony Romo, the great tragedy of his career was that by the time he fully found who he was and how he could operate, his body just physically betrayed him and he couldn't last. And we're not here to retell that whole story. But outside of the defense, which was better on Sunday against Washington, Dak Prescott is reaching, or has reached, a nirvana in terms of his own control, his own presence, his own disposition, and he's got the supporting cast. He's got CeeDee Lamb, he's got George Pickens, he's got Jake Ferguson, he's got Javonte Williams, he's got Brian Schottenheimer calling the offensive plays and leaning into all of these strengths. And we really are not fully recognizing or understanding, in my opinion, just how great these, I don't even want to call them supporting cast members, are doing. These star role players are playing for the Cowboys, obviously outside of the all-important quarterback position. I want you to consider this for a second. There are only 2 players since 1970 who have began a season or began their time with the Dallas Cowboys, and in their first 7 games had 600 yards and 6 touchdowns receiving. Those 2 players are both wide receivers, obviously. They were both acquired by way of trade, and they both played with Dak Prescott at quarterback, which, I don't know, would suggest that Dak Prescott is pretty freaking good. The 2 players in question, if they're not overwhelmingly obvious, Amari Cooper and George Pickens. That's right. George Pickens is north of 600 yards receiving this season, has 6 receiving touchdowns, but he is one of 2 players to have 6 receiving touchdowns so far this season for the Cowboys. Since 1970, there are only 10 players in Dallas Cowboys franchise history, once again, since 1970, to have at least 6 receiving touchdowns through the first 7 games of a season. And Amari Cooper's on this list, although he didn't join the Cowboys at the beginning of the 2018 season. That's a little bit of a, interesting outlier, but real sort of data point, whatever. But the 2 players in question that we're talking about are on the team right now, or who are on the team right now, are George Pickens and Jake Ferguson. Jake Ferguson is the only non-receiver to catch at least 6 touchdowns through the first 7 games of a season in Dallas Cowboys franchise history. Once again, dating back to 1970, the NFL's merger. I mean, that the Cowboys have these 2 players right now, and we're not even mentioning CeeDee Lamb's name in this mix. Playing and operating at such a high level is one of the many reasons why the offense is reaching such incredible heights. You've got George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson. It is just, we talked so much in the offseason about how difficult it was going to be for opposing defenses, obviously, in terms of who to guard and how to handle both CeeDee and George on the field at the same time. We obviously got a great and wonderful look at that on Sunday against Washington, but I don't think any of us in our wildest dreams, outside of shout out to Ferg's season on X, I don't think any of us could have forecasted that Jake Ferguson would be this much of a threat, that he would be this much of a problem. I think in our wildest dreams and our wildest hopes, we certainly hoped, obviously, that he would develop into somebody who could work along those lines. But I don't think any of us really forecasted that Jake Ferguson would be this much of a threat. Now, some of that is that we maybe didn't, again, in our wildest dreams, anticipate that there would be, shout out to Stephen Jones, this many slices of pie out there, right? Like, you think about the fact that so many touchdowns are out there to be had, and they inevitably and invariably have to go somewhere. So they're obviously, with CeeDee Lamb, who was out of the fold for a while, going to George Pickens and Jake Ferguson. Then CeeDee Lamb comes back and CeeDee Lamb benefits. It's just this incredible relationship that everybody has kind of going on with one another. And all of that is reason for excitement. And I know that every conversation we've had, every kind of point of excitement or point of interest we've had in the Cowboys as of late has ultimately brought us back to, well, can the defense do their part? And the defense did do their part on Sunday. We've been kind of living in this reality for a day now, depending on when you're watching this video. And that leads me to my official, I want to declare right now, the classic Cowboy moment of the week for me from Sunday's Dallas Cowboys win against the Washington Commanders was Deron Bland's pick 6. That was one moment. I fully understand it, but it was an amazing moment, and it was representative. It was a microcosm, I think, of how the Cowboys played in that game. It was capitalizing on opportunity. It was making sure to take full advantage of the opponent in that particular moment in time. It wasn't Jaden Daniels who threw that interception. It was Marcus Mariota, but it was showing a level of aggression, showing a level of energy, showing a level of ability to jump on, to capitalize, to take advantage of a moment and turn it into something positive, turn it into a high-level contribution from the defensive side of the ball. And beyond the objective reality of that, it also was just incredible from a vibe standpoint, right? Like, Deron Bland getting that pick 6 felt so much like 2023. It was his 6th interception return for a touchdown throughout his career to date. This sounds absurd, but it is real. There are only 20 players in all of NFL history who have more interceptions returned for touchdowns than Deron Bland. The all-time record is 12, so he's got to double up and then some, obviously, to hold that record all to his own before his career is all said and done. That sounds impossible, but crazier things have certainly happened for Deron Bland and pick 6s. So that moment for me, on a day where there was so much offensive fun, so many offensive fireworks, that was my classic Cowboy moment of the game, and I'm hopeful that we get a lot of them moving forward. But when we look at it also, I mean, like, again, my mind jumps so many places because there's so many things that are involved and so many things that are a factor here. I want to show you one other thing, and I love doing this on Mondays. I love kind of digging in and diving into different numbers and different trends and different things that we've seen historically from the Cowboys. This is a list, obviously. This is a list right here of how many times each player on this list had 100 yards rushing in a given season for the Dallas Cowboys. That's a fancy way of saying that Javonte Williams has 2 games this season with 100 yards or more rushing. Rico Dowdle, I wouldn't have guessed that there were 4 instances of this in 2024, but Rico has done a lot to kind of make us feel things lately. Rico had 4 games of such kind in 2024. But consider that in 2023, which was objectively an amazing year for the Cowboys offensively, they only had 1 100-yard performance from a rushing standpoint. In 2022, Tony Pollard only did it 3 times. Once Javonte Williams does it again, he'll have matched that outing. And look, 100 yards is admittedly an arbitrary number. Even though it's clean, even though it's round, even though it sounds nice, it is an arbitrary number. And so I don't bring this up to say, oh, you got to hit 100 yards and everything's going to be great. No, this isn't some sort of archaic discussion along those lines. What I'm saying, the point behind me bringing this up is the run game exists. The run game exists to a point that they have gotten now a 100-yard performance on 2 different occasions through the first 7 games of this season. And as you can see, that has been a pretty rare commodity throughout the most recent seasons in Dallas Cowboys franchise history. Again, that sounds dramatic, but it is reality when we consider the last kind of 4 or 5 years, almost all of the Mike McCarthy era. And so what that tells us is having the offensive balance that the Cowboys do, again, forgetting the arbitrary number, arbitrary reality of 100 rushing yards, whatever. What this proves, what this tells, what this screams out to us is that the ability of the Cowboys to obviously have this high level, extremely potent passing game is an incredible asset. But for them to also be able to run the ball, for them to be able to run the ball reliably and consistently, that is such an important part, an important element, an important harmonious aspect of what they are doing from an overall offensive standpoint in 2025. And that is another reason to continue to be excited about and be willing to trust this offense moving forward across the rest of the season. I don't think that there are enough positive things to say, enough kind things to say about the Cowboys offense and what they've done. And really this week about the Cowboys defense. I mean, look, Monday was a very big day in that was my birthday, but it was a very big day in that it was reported in a interesting way, kind of in a, from him way. DeMarvion Overshown, in case you missed it on Monday, shared on Twitter. I think the tweet was T minus 21 days or something like that. And that was the general point of the tweet. And that was him essentially declaring that his 21-day practice window was being opened. It would come out through different reporting, different people around the team and local members of the media, that his window is officially going to be opened at some point this week. But the general point is that the 3-week timer is essentially starting this week. And that means if you kind of connect the dots, and this isn't even really connecting dots as much as it is just saying something out loud, DeMarvion Overshown is on track to return to play for the Dallas Cowboys as soon as Monday Night Football when the team visits the Las Vegas Raiders. That's the Monday night game after the bye. So this Sunday, the Cowboys visit the Denver Broncos. Then next week, the Cowboys are at home hosting the Arizona Cardinals. That would be 2 weeks from today, technically. And then they're on bye. So you've got back-to-back Monday Night Football games. In case you were not aware, there is a bye week sandwiched in between there, but we're talking about the second Monday night game. The one after the bye week is when it seems DeMarvion Overshown could be returning for the Dallas Cowboys. And right now, I think we would pick the Cowboys to beat the Cardinals. The Broncos are a weird kind of opponent for the Cowboys. So are the Cardinals, actually. So worst case scenario would be losing both those games. Obviously, it would be frustrating to split them, but I don't think there's any, there shouldn't be any intense rolling of eyes to the idea that Dallas could win these next 2 games. So you're talking about a team that would be 5-3-1 potentially through the bye week, riding a 3-game winning streak, getting DeMarvion Overshown back, and then maybe beating the Raiders even to get to 6-3-1. We would start to be feeling pretty excited right around Thanksgiving. And so here's to hoping that ultimately is what winds up happening. So this has been a lot of fun. And if you want to hang out with me on social media, you know where to find me. X, Instagram, Threads at RJ Ochoa. TikTok is RJ.Ochoa. My Facebook page, if you're on the book, go like it. If you are anywhere talking about the Dallas Cowboys, or if you're anywhere consuming any kind of content, I promise you I'm there talking about the Dallas Cowboys. And the links to all of these places are down in the description below if you want to hang out with me. For now, my friends, I'm going to bid you adieu. I'm also going to ask you to please like this video and subscribe to the channel. We have daily videos, daily discussions, live shows, all sorts of fun stuff, amazing interviews, things happening all the time pertaining to the Dallas Cowboys. And all these things feel a little bit better on days like today. Victory Polo Monday. We got a double header for Monday Night Football. Thank goodness they're not happening in parallel. We got a game 7 in the ALCS. It's just, I know I keep saying it, and I know this is a super original take, but it is the best time of year, and I'm enjoying every second of it all, especially because the Cowboys won on Sunday, and so I hope you are with yours as well. So let's go ahead and let's get out of here. A reminder, my name is RJ Ochoa. I love you all, and eat something delicious, watch something amazing on television when football has officially concluded, and yeah, that's all I have. That's all, folks. So thanks so much for hanging out, everybody, and we will see you next time.